people on the screen. Hello.
Yes. Welcome, Senator. It was me talking, Tina
I see you
Allman,
now.
co-founder and president of the Chamber. Thank you so very much for joining us today and taking time out of your morning to talk with your constituents. We greatly appreciate it. I also just want to thank your staff. We actually have been in contact with them for about 10 months. We started our organization about 14 months ago. And when we were talking about who we would like as a guest speaker, the first name that came to mind was yours. And we had reached out, and they have just been so communicative and gracious to help us set up this meeting. So we appreciate all your staff. I actually had the pleasure of meeting you twice before in 2019. You hosted a roundtable for leaders in the industry here in Las Vegas. And the other time was in Washington, D.C., lobbying in late 2019 with Las Vegas NORML. You accepted our meeting and gave us about 45 minutes of your time. So as your constituent, I appreciate you making time for us. I'll also just mention at that roundtable in 2019, there was probably about 12 of us, and there was 10 men and about 2 women, myself and Dr. Carmen Jones. And now here we sit with 20 folks on the call with about 80% women. And I think we do have a few gentlemen joining us today. So how those tables have literally turned.
That's all right. That's all right. It's all good. Women know how to get things done.
We do, definitely. And we admire that in you very much so. We have watched how many bills that you've signed and the stance that you've taken on cannabis reform and inclusivity in the cannabis industry. So we just want you to know a little bit about what we're doing as a business trade organization to really elevate the cannabis industry to the next level. And then we'd love to ask some questions and learn a little bit about you as our representative in the Senate. So first and foremost, like I said, we are just 14 months old. We started this organization because there was a need for it. We all are leaders in the cannabis industry and the cannabis community. And unfortunately, we didn't see the industry with a lot of diversity and a lot of opportunity for those who weren't already rich and wealthy. So we created it ourselves. And in that 14 months, we have built great relationships with political and judicial leaders. Happy to say we have an ally in just about every segment of the government, the state legislator, county commissioner, city council, and local jurisdictions. And now we're talking to you today, rounding out our year. So you can definitely say we are on cloud 9. We also were able to rally the industry together and lead the campaign for the Cannabis Consumption Lounge Bill AB 341, which was much needed. Actually very happy to report out that later today at 1 o'clock will be our first meeting with the Cannabis Compliance Board, the first workshop where we will be submitting public comment. And this bill was important to us because it also defined and implemented social equity for the first time in the license process. So it's a big step in the right direction. And the other bill we helped lead the campaign on was AB 400, which reformed the current DUI law, which was very antiquated and unjust. So those are our 2 big pieces of achievements at the legislature. But one thing we're very proud of is just gathering all of our industry leaders and community leaders. We now have over 200 members, 40 cannabis companies, and we put on one heck of a meeting where everyone's able to come together and really share best practices. So that is just a little bit about our organization. We do follow you on Instagram. Feel free to follow us as well. And now we'd love to learn a little bit about you. I am very happy and proud to be able to introduce you. Senator Rosen was a House of Representatives member from 2017 to 2019. You were elected to the Senate in 2018. And while you were in the House, you were rated one of the most bipartisan freshman members, which we couldn't be more happy about. We are all about solutions and synergy and working together. So we definitely appreciate that in you. We also wanted to just mention to our members watching the subcommittees, the Senate committees that you served in, because a lot of them align with our organization. And some of those were the Senate Committee on Small Business and Entrepreneurship, Senate Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions. Pensions don't exist in cannabis, but hopefully soon. And then the Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation. And you have a long history of supporting STEM programs for young women and young girls, and supporting technology. That is a huge opportunity in cannabis, probably one of the biggest science, machinery, tech. So we appreciate you supporting that. And then also, we were really pleased to see you serving on the Special Committee for Aging. Happy to report out that 55 and up consumers are actually the largest demographic of growing consumers in the United States for cannabis. So this is very important to us as alternative medicine, especially for our older family members and friends. And happy to see you serving on that, Senator. So without further ado, I'd love to welcome you, and we'd love to know a little bit about you before we turn it over for questions from our board members.
Well, Tina, thank you. I'm so proud of what you started and how you're growing and how you're continuing to grow, how you're building coalition, because I believe you're right. We have to find smart solutions that create opportunity, move people forward in every way that we can, because as a leader, whether you're in government or in the private sector, that's what people want you to do. They want you to find solutions to whatever issues you're working on, to the problem they face, smart solutions that really make a difference. And so thank you for what you've been doing and for pulling everyone together. So whatever issues you want to talk about, whether they're in your professional space or maybe in your personal spaces as well, we can hear all of that. And I am really proud to represent the state of Nevada. I think we're a great state. I've lived there almost 42 years now. And I do think there's a lot of room to grow and create an opportunity. And speaking of that, 5 years ago, Nevadans went to the ballot box and they voted overwhelmingly to make cannabis legal. And I was a congressional candidate then in 2016. I was proud to stand up and voice my support for the legalization well before it passed. And since then, I don't have to tell any of you, we've seen a $1 billion cannabis industry. It's created new businesses, new jobs. I'm a former computer programmer, software developer, but talk about STEM, chemistry, apps, engineering, all the different things. These are creating, cannabis technology is really going to start to all the puns that go with growing cannabis, but to blossom or bud, you know, I know you get all of those, but really it's brought in more than a cannabis business brought in over $159 million in tax revenue that it goes on to support our state schools, our education system. And like you said, our governor has taken important steps to reverse harmful and discriminatory justice policies when it comes to cannabis. And so, of course, you know that we're being hindered by access to financial institutions. I sit on the Small Business Entrepreneurship Committee. I know you probably know this, but 99% of businesses in Nevada are small businesses. People all think of us as, you know, the big Las Vegas Strip, but 99% of businesses, small businesses. Over in country, over 50% of businesses, small businesses. So if you're operating legally within your state, you should have access to small business resources. You should have access to safe banking. And of course, under current law, you don't have that. Financial institutions are not available to you, and they could be open for prosecution, liability, et cetera, if they do give you services. So it means, again, I don't have to tell you, you operate as cash-only businesses. It prevents you from easily accepting credit card payments, depositing your revenue in bank accounts, writing checks for payroll, for taxes. I mean, it's not really, I think, just an economic issue. It's a public safety issue. Cannabis businesses are increasingly targeted for cash-motivated crimes. Your employees, when they leave, when you might go to pay your taxes. These are concerns not just here in Nevada, but for every state that has legal cannabis operations operating legally within their state. I know just a couple of weeks ago in Oakland, a cannabis business was robbed not once, but twice in 24 hours. And so I'm fighting to pass the Safe Banking Act. Of course, I co-sponsored it. I know you know what it is. It removes those obstacles that the banks have, again, if you're operating legally within your state, to give you access. I am on the Senate Armed Services Committee, and I led a bipartisan effort to, or led the charge to get the Safe Banking Act in the National Defense Authorization Act, which we will be passing this week. It was in the House, but it did not make it through to conference. I do know this bill has broad bipartisan support, and I'm just going to continue to keep up the fight to get it passed this next year. I can't believe it's going to be 2022. Oh my God. Every time I say that, it's like 2021, 2020 seemed to blur, 2022, maybe COVID, so many things going on. But it's really outrageous when so many businesses are working to recover, like I said, from COVID. To exclude you from federal resources like idle loans or grants through the SBA, to deny legally operating businesses safe banking. It's really, really unfortunate. I've raised this issue with the Biden administration, with SBA Administrator Isabel Guzman. I've led my Senate colleagues trying to demand access. Again, it is really time for Washington to step up so that not just Nevada's cannabis industry can grow and thrive, but really, like I said, the number of states that have this really growing. And I think that hopefully we're going to hit a tipping point when people see it in so many states. When we hit that natural tipping point, it'll be difficult for them to fight against some of these antiquated laws. But for now, I'm interested really from hearing from you about the challenges that you're facing. Of course, like I said, 2022, it's here in a couple of weeks. Oh my goodness gracious. I hope everybody's ready for their holidays, whatever you celebrate. And, but I really want to be sure that we give you the tools that you need to succeed, not just in 2022, but going forward. So I'm just going to stop talking there, and I'm going to open it up for your questions.
Well, thank you, Senator. You had us at your cannabis puns. That is one thing that we're good at, wit and humor. So that's.
I was going to say, everybody has those. It's budding, it's thriving, it's growing, you're cultivating. I mean, you know, right.
It was actually funny during the work session, I believe it was, on the bill. Our state legislators were also doing some funny puns. They said, let's not get into the weeds now.
Right,
so
yeah.
It's just great to see everybody very approachable, you know, that is making decisions for our state. And we appreciate you.
Sometimes a sense of humor is how you create a friendship, right? And
Yes.
Sometimes it is how you break down barriers and begin to be able to talk to people who might not necessarily understand what you're fighting for. And so you have to bring it all to the room, right? All of it.
Yes, we agree. We agree. Kill them with kindness.
Yeah,
all
trying.
Right. Well, I'm going to turn it over to our board members to ask you some questions that we thought of beforehand. So I'd like to introduce our Vice President of the Chamber of Cannabis, Miss Dani Baranowski.
Hi, Tina, and hi, Senator Rosen. I want to let you know that I'm really well known for making either dad jokes or bad jokes, but I truly love to laugh. And so I appreciate that you do as well.
Our office, we're all about the dad jokes. So I just have to, I don't want to embarrass my team, but sometimes we actually try to have contests of who can have the worst dad joke. So we have to break it up a little bit too. It's okay.
Okay, let me know if you ever need me. I'm here for you.
I will.
So, like Tina said, I'm Dani Baranowski. I'm the Vice President and co-founder of the Chamber. I'm also the brand manager for City Trees. But before I did all that, I was a scuba diving instructor. And like you mentioned, before you were a senator, you were a computer program and software developer. So I'm curious to know what made you want to make the switch and run for office.
Well, I will tell you that, you know, and I say this to everyone, is that you bring your whole self to the table, whatever you do, right? You bring all your experiences, your family, your friends. You're not just, we try to fit our lives in those one-page resumes or some wonderful cover letter, but we're all so much more than that. And I would also say that, particularly for women, and certainly women of my age, we always thought life was linear, and life is not linear. And so you're going to, through the course of your life, I think, do many things, and you bring all of that with you. And so when the congressional seat opened and I was talked to about running for that seat, what was said to me was this, and this is what really made me want to run. They said, you know what, if you think you're going to go change Washington, that's not really the reason to do this. What you are going to do is you're going to hear the stories of people, of businesses, of your community. You're going to do constituent services, of course, anyone who knows that. That's the number one thing you do. But you're going to take those stories, and in the kernels of those stories, that's where you're going to find, and I guess the pun is here, we're going to use those seeds for our legislation. So when you hear something here, when you tell me it's not safe, it's not this, that, whatever the issue is, whomever I talk to, whatever advocacy group, oftentimes, sometimes you hear a problem or someone calls you on the phone in your office for constituent services, and these stories, your stories, are where the seeds of legislation are born. And so when we change things, we'll just pick something, we'll pick veterans for the sake of argument. I'm at a veterans roundtable and I hear that they need something changed, and we work on it. You may not hear that on the news, but oh boy, does it change it for veterans everywhere around the country. It can be life-changing. I give you safe banking, it's going to be life-changing for your businesses. And so this one probably would make the news because it's a little bit more popular. I don't know, news is about attention. They want to sell advertising, and that's fine. But that's the real joy of this job, is getting to know people, making those connections, hearing the stories, and they're what you fight for. And when you get to sign bills, lead efforts, or bills get into law, you've made a difference for someone, it sure feels great. So that's what really convinced me to do this. And I bring all of my experiences to the table, just like you do. And you're going to continue to do, because you're going to have a long life ahead of you. That's for sure.
Well, thank you for cultivating this meeting. I'm trying to throw in a weed fun off the cuff here.
Stealing all of these. There you go. So sorry.
So much appreciated. Thank you for sharing the joys of being a senator, and we look forward to seeing what you can do to help our industry. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Hi, Senator. My name is Sam Rodriguez. I'm Director of Retail Operations with New Leaf Dispensaries, as well as a board member with the Chamber. You've signed on to every major cannabis bill since being elected in 2018. Why do you support cannabis reform and growing the cannabis industry? Well,
I mean, the voters made their voices clear about cannabis. So here it is in Nevada. Like I said, no puns intended. It's $1 billion industry. It's creating good paying jobs across the whole spectrum. Because when I was first learning about the cannabis industry and really what folks do, you think about the chemists and the chemistry of it. And like I said, apps, the technology, it's not just a storefront that you're selling it at. And of course, medicinal, a lot of things that a lot of people I know have arthritis or different things. They get those patches or cream, and it really has made a difference in their ability for their poor old knees that have been hurting them, or arthritic fingers, whatever that is. And so these are good paying jobs. It creates tax revenue, jobs across the spectrum, and it's doing a lot for our community. So I'm going to continue to fight for that. I want to make it safe. These are your small businesses, entrepreneurs. I want to make it safe. And that's really for the safe banking, number one. There's other social justice issues. I'm sure that we'll talk about those that we have to work on as well. But I'm just going to continue to work in the space and make sure that we do everything we can.
Good morning, Senator Rosen. We greatly appreciate you speaking with us. My name is Frankie Silken, and I am an alumni advisor for Cannabis at USC, a board member for the Chamber of Cannabis, and business development for a software company called Philo that focuses on highly regulated industries, specializing in compliant cannabis services. My question for you is, can you provide some insight on the reasons President Biden has not followed through on his campaign promises to support the cannabis industry and cannabis policy reform?
Well, what I really want to say is that this is Congress's job to act. This is Congress's job to make criminal justice reform, to work on banking issues. And so we have the full support of the president, but this is Congress's job to get this done. They've done their job in the House. We have to do our job in the Senate, especially where it comes to safe banking. We didn't get it done this time. I do know there's good bipartisan support. NDAA, they chose not to use it as a vehicle because people are trying to work on some broader aspects of issues, like I said, criminal justice reform as it relates to marijuana being on Schedule 1 and policies. And Senator Booker, I believe, is leading the charge on that. And so the president's fully behind us, but it is our job to get it done. And I'm going to continue to fight for that here in the Senate, along with my House partners.
Good morning, Senator. My name is Darlene Mason. I serve on the subcommittee for events with the Chamber. I'm also a brand and sales manager for Taproot Brands. My question for you this morning is, what obstacles will the Senate and House need to reconcile before they can move forward with comprehensive legislation?
Well, this is really where you come in, because we need to build a coalition. You've been doing this. You've been bringing everyone to the table. And so we need both parties to come to the table. We have to educate and advocate. And so it's great you're talking to me, because I'm taking your stories. We're trying to figure out what we do and create legislation. You know, folks in states where it's legal, some might be on your side, some may not be. You need to be sure that you educate and take yourselves to all the people here in the Senate and the House that don't understand what it is that you do, the benefits that there are, and the benefits for the community. And so we can't do it without you, and you have to help us build a coalition. And I think once we get a tipping point, certainly of states that have legal marijuana in some form or fashion, that will help. But it takes education and it takes communication, and that's where your advocacy is going to be our partner to get this across the finish line.
Thank you.
Good morning, Senator Rosen. How are you today? My name is
Great.
Nicole.
How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. My name is Nicole Bafong. I am on the board for the Chamber of Cannabis, going on the second year. But I also am the Western Regional Director for Minorities for Medical Marijuana. We are a national nonprofit advocacy organization, and I ended up in Nevada because 2 years ago I became a medical cannabis refugee. I had to leave my home in Georgia and my family in Georgia and move to Nevada, so I had access to safe medicine. So for me, it's really important to know and understand, if you think that cannabis will be federally decriminalized and descheduled before the end of this current administration, do you think it's possible?
Oh, well, you know, I think it's going to be hard to get it done this session, but I can tell you there's a lot of us. I know that Senator Booker really is really leading the charge in that. And there's so many folks who want to do that. Again, in order to fight this fight, what you have to do is educate people who are misinformed. They either don't know about the history of some of these laws, who they impacted, that communities of color, how they were impacted, that poor people, how they're impacted, just like many things in criminal justice. And so talking about those issues, educating people who we think, hopefully we thought they should know, but maybe they don't, but maybe it's not just legislature, maybe it's other folks in the community. You want to build a groundswell with good information. And that's, again, I'm just going to point to you as advocates and partners. You have to get out of, sorry, we're in the middle of votes. That's why you hear, it's not a fire alarm. That's why I'm not jumping up. We're about getting ready for a third vote. But that's where you come in, because education is is really key. And education, it's something that's never finished, because there's always new kids growing up, new people coming up. There's always, I guess it's like laundry in the basket. There's always something there, right? And so you have to continue to educate and give and fight, either somebody who's not informed or misinformed with what you believe is the right information and what you want to do to move forward. So we're just going to keep trying to do that, and hopefully, like I said, over the course of time. But since you heard that bell, I know I have time for one more, because if you're really bored, you can watch me on C-SPAN 2, which you'll see us on the floor. Must see TV if you need to sleep. Not always. Sometimes it's exciting, but a normal vote, not so much.
Good morning, Senator. My name is Kelby Thompson. I am a local compliance officer, as well as on the events committee for the Chamber. Thank you so much for being here today. My question is, what would you like to see from our cannabis industry and cannabis community in Nevada?
That is a great question. And I say this to anybody who's advocating for anything. There's a few things you have to do. I've already mentioned it. Number one, you got to educate. Number two, you got to engage. You got to engage people. You got to meet people where they are so they can hear what you're trying to say, right? So education and engagement go together, because if you don't engage people, meet them where they are, then they're not going to hear your stories. And then the most important thing I tell everyone too is that you are our eyes and ears. You have to be in contact with our office. Whatever issue you work on, you are the keeper, the gatherer of the stories of businesses, individuals, whatever, like I said, for this issue or whatever it is for others. I say the same thing. We can't know everything. So if somebody's doing something good, let me know. And I'm glad we can either copy it, sign on to it, work with it, help them join us in what we're doing. Somebody's doing something not so good, I'm also glad to go over and make a new friend there too, right? And so either way, but I'm only as strong as what I know. And that's where it comes from being a systems analyst. If I don't hear the stories, good and bad, if you don't go out and engage, meet people where they are and help them, educate them, then that's how you move them forward. And when we do this together with the stories, so you're my eyes and ears on the ground, with the statistics, with the businesses, with the real stories, all of it, that is what makes a difference, I think, at the end of the day. So that's what I need. That's what I need from all of you. And I know that you are all up to that task, because you're young, you're smart, you're passionate. And I know that you want to be engaged, because here you are. So thank you for everything you're doing. I think, Tina, I'm going to turn it back to you. I know I have everyone over here like ready to go for a vote. So if you see me, I know if you have the rest of a meeting, if you stay on, if you see me pop off, like I said, the votes just wait for no one. So
we appreciate you, and
we
want you to use us as an ally and as an example. You know, we've broken every stereotype and stigma, and we really set the bar for how to lead the industry. So when you meet those other legislators who don't want to vote for cannabis reform, gladly give them our phone number and we will speak with them.
Well, I think you know who they are. Keep knocking on their doors. Have your folks in other states knock on, call their offices, make an appointment. Even if you meet with their team, just continue. Don't let it stop you. You might not get that person. Local, state, local, federal. You have to you have to have people be able to listen to you. You have to get in the door somehow, and just keep knocking on the doors. That's all I can tell you.
If there's anything that you can do to get us in the door of President Biden's office, we will gladly take that opportunity. And we want you to know that we are proud to have you representing us for the next 3 years, and just appreciate your time today, Senator. So thank you. Have a wonderful holiday.
Thank you so much. Everyone be safe, be healthy, be happy, and whatever you celebrate or don't celebrate, just enjoy your family. How's that? Thank you.
Well said. Thank you, Senator.
Bye-bye. Oops, there we go. Off to vote. Oh, if I can get, hang on. There it is. It was disappearing there.
Thank you, everyone. That was recorded. So if you want to share that with anyone else, let me know. We will be having that recording accessible somehow. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for committing to changing the industry. We appreciate and love you all. Have a good work day, everyone.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Alyssa.